Last week for our tarot deck review series, we looked at the Cryptid Tarot Deck. We are going to use that deck today then for our pick-a-pile. So, as usual, we're going to have 3 piles. This is pile number 1. I'm going to ask you to pile number 2, take a deep breath and let yourself decide which pile feels right to you, and then you can listen to all of the readings or you can skip to the one that you would like. The times for each reading will be listed in the description down below. All right. Take a deep breath, pause the video if you need to, and come back when you know which pile is speaking to you the most. We're going to start now with pile number 1. We have the 4 of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the 7 of Swords. This week would be a good one to protect your money and your assets. The 4 of Wands is often a card of things like weddings and reunions, but I also really think about it as the moment when we have decided what we want to do, we have a vision, starting to have a plan laid out, and we want to share that with the people who are most important to us. The King of Pentacles suggests that we will do very well in these endeavors. There's a lot of wherewithal, understanding, really knowing what you need to do, really being aware of your resources and how to use them. And so it suggests that you'll do well with these things, but the 7 of Swords is a card of such things as betrayal, jealousy, lies, deception, and while that sounds very dark and soap opera-esque, it mostly just means to beware in this group of cards, to beware of scams, to be aware of the too good to be true, or the people around you who start to get closer and closer, but not necessarily in a good way. Kind of the people who are appreciating you now that you have good things going for you. It's always good to be generous, but don't get taken advantage of, essentially. So overall, it's a very nice message, saying that, it's great that you're starting to have your plan laid out, and are able to pull in the people around you and start to invest your time and your energy in something that really makes you happy, but just to watch out for the reactions of those around you. Moving on to the second pile. We have the 9 of Cups, the Fool, and the 5 of Wands. The 9 of Cups is a card of knowing what you want in terms of relationships, being in a good place emotionally. It is a card of being comfortable, but also reflective, really understanding why you are where you are, how far you've been able to take yourself, and develop relationships. Relationships do not have to be romantic. Oftentimes these are friendships and working with family, and it's about feeling comfortable with how you move through the world and your interpersonal space. The Fool offers us a new beginning, which is much easier when we have taken that time to reflect. You go from the end of one cycle and you're ready to start another. Often we talk about the Fool as a clean slate, But with the tarot, there's always cycles. So this isn't about going in blindly or naively so much as going in with the confidence that everything that you needed to learn, you've learned. Essentially not dragging baggage into it. If we were to be talking about romantic relationships, if this were a love reading, this would say that you had developed kind of an awareness of how you are in those sorts of relationships and what you want, and you're able to go into the next one openly, not bringing in any baggage, not dragging in anything else, which is a really great place to start. The Five of Wands is a card of training, a card of pushing yourself forward. Often Rider-Waite will talk about it as conflict or competition, and it can be, but it's more about competing with yourself, trying to be better than yesterday, trying to learn. Together, these cards speak to kind of a karmic cycle of experience, processing, and then taking the good and moving forward and learning instead of being caught up in the mistakes is really very positive, especially if you are looking at like romantic relationships or just anywhere where there's a new cycle that involves dealing with other people. Being able to know what is important to you and what isn't. Moving on to pile 3. The Sun, the Two of Pentacles, and the Knight of Wands. The Sun is a card of blessings, of being in the spotlight, of things coming to fruition, having your moment in the sun, celebrating. It's a big, bright, happy card, but also it's about things on the surface. Very much about appearances and perceptions. And in this case, with the Two of Pentacles, which speaks to having to balance and having a lot of priorities to juggle, this can be about the struggle to keep up with everything. And I would say, it's not the worst thing to allow yourself some vulnerability. But we are looking at essentially showing everybody everything that you can do. Being that person that people are like, wow, is there anything they can't do? And that can be a really great feeling. But it can also be really exhausting. And then along with them, we have the Knight of Wands, which is a card of pursuing passions. It's a card of adventure. And it's interesting with the Two of Pentacles because it feels in a lot of ways like taking on more when you already have things. There's kind of this cross picture I have where on one side it's drop everything and run into something else, and on another side it's just piling on. As such, I would encourage you to think of how much of what you do is for you and how much of what you do is for recognition. And there's nothing wrong with wanting recognition. It's just that if what you are doing for that is draining you and making life not as much fun, then the recognition might not be worth it. Whereas if you go for the things that bring you absolute joy and then you get recognition and approval for it, it's just going to be a much nicer feeling. Either way, don't be afraid to let people know all of the work, or at least that there is work going on for that effortless appearance. A lot of effort for the effortlessness. So I hope that makes sense. As usual, if there is any deck you want to see anything from, any different types of readings you want to see, just let me know. And have a great week. Thank you.